Check, check. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all here today. The baby gets passed around. I love it. I got my snuggles in already. Good, good, good. It is good to be here together. Thanks for being here. If you're in this room, we're glad you are with us online. If you are joining us that way, it's good to have a space to come and to pause and to reset a little bit and to move forward in our week. So a couple of things that are coming up in the next week or two here that you need to be aware of. Eamon, can you put up that August? Yep, that one, thanks. This Saturday, as in 6 days from now. Oh, that's real? Sheesh. Okay, I'm okay. It's all right, everybody. It's okay. Saturday, we're going to gather and finish up that whole fabulous, fun February fundraiser, all the things. Remember that back in February? You all were so generous, and so many things have happened around this space. The camera is new. The people online, thank you all for your generosity there. The sign out front, there's paint. There's lots of new things happening. The last project is to load in the cafe. Most of the supplies have been purchased for that. Some things have been reupholstered, so time to make that space beautiful. If you can help Saturday morning from 10 to noon, we would love your assistance putting some things together, moving some furniture. No skill required, I promise. There's jobs for everybody. So if you can do that, we'd love for you to sign up on your Church Center app. Let us know that you will be here. And then the next morning on Sunday, don't come here. Come here Saturday at 10, not Sunday at 10. Is that confusing enough? Good. We're going to go hang out at Dale's Net Zero house that he's been working on fervently for a while here. He's going to teach us some things about what he's been doing. He's going to share some ideas about what we all can do and give us a tour of the space. So that is next Sunday instead of this gathering. Don't come here. We won't be here. You can come if you want, but nobody's going to be here. So join us. The address is 720 Eastern. Is that right? On the northeast side. So just up the road. That'll be a great morning of learning. And then we'll have some snacks and drinks afterwards. So, and then the following Sunday, we will gather here. And then we're going to go to the Krondykes for a barbecue. So details to come. You can bring some things for that, but more details to come on that, okay? And then Labor Day and fall, and we'll get more information on all of that stuff out to you here soon. But a couple of good things coming up in the weeks ahead here. All right, let's move our attention here to a call to worship that we're going to read together. And as we do so, the musicians can make their way up so we can sing together. We know that we're nearing the end of summer, right? August 23 was that date that scared me. We're nearing the end of summer. For some of you, school starts this week or has started. It's turning into a new season. So for our call to worship this morning, we're going to use words from Ecclesiastes 3. Some of you might know this as for every season, there is a season for everything, right? This familiar, maybe somewhat familiar passage. But we're going to use that as our call to worship. And then I'm going to invite you to stay seated while we sing today, because there's a special addition to our song this morning. So stay seated, but let's read these words together. For everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to be silent and a time to speak. We remember the seasons that have shaped our past, times of joy and times of sorrow. God has been faithful in every moment that has brought us to today. And we give thanks for the present, the sacred time to gather, to breathe, to worship. We open our hearts to the future God is weaving, a future of hope and peace. In every season, God is with us. Let's sing together.
Take it easy, easy. God already loves you completely. Take it easy, easy. Rest in the shade of God's wings. Lay down your burdens and rest for a while. The shepherd who seeks you is gentle and kind. There's nothing to pay for and nothing to earn, and nothing you have to become. Take it easy, easy. God already loves you completely. Take it easy, easy. Rest in the shade of God's wings. Lay down the scales where you weigh out your life. The measures are empty, just leave them behind. The distance between his two hands are enough to tell you the depths of his love. Take it easy, easy. God already loves you completely. Take it easy, easy. Rest in the shade of God's wings. Lay down the armor you brought to the fight. Lay down your weapons and lay down your strife. God's on your side and won't let you go, and already loves who you are. Won't ask you to be something more. Take it easy, easy. God already loves you completely. Take it easy, easy. Rest in the shade of God's wings. Take it easy, easy. God already loves you completely. Take it easy, easy. Rest in the shade of God's wings. Rest in the shade of God's wings. Rest in the shade of God's wings.
Thank you all for leading that. Thank you, Katie, for embodying those words for us. That was a gift. Thank you for doing that for us. We are going to dismiss branch kids here in a second, but since it is on the new school season, we want to do this a little bit differently. If you are beginning a new school year, whether you are this tall or this tall, I don't know if any of you are that much taller than me, would you come and stand in this center row so we can speak a blessing on all of you, and then kiddos will be dismissed out the back. So if you are a student, a teacher, an admin, work in a school in any sort of setting, I know there's a bunch of you. There might not be anybody left in seats. Hi, Julian. Awesome, awesome. You can stay right in the center aisle here. Love it, love it, love it. That is a good group of humans here ready to embark on a new season of life. All right. The rest of you, and you all too, you can speak this blessing to each other. We've modified the blessing we normally speak to branch kids a little bit to speak to this coming school year. So let's say these words together. If you would like to reach out a hand to extend blessing to these people, you can do that as well. May this new school year be filled with wonder, joy, and friendship. There's another slide. There you go. May you feel loved in each and every moment. May you show love too. You belong and you are loved. We love you and we wish you the absolute best in this coming school year. And I have stickers and suckers for any of you afterwards at the end of the morning, okay? I know you got to wait. Branch kids, you can head on out the back. Everybody else, why don't you stand and say hello to somebody nearby or somebody you haven't seen in a little bit while.
Well, why don't we grab a seat here, and we'll keep moving with the morning. Glad to have you here. Looking forward to the field trip next week. I had the privilege of helping to help Dale build, especially last year, and it's a really interesting home with, well, it's unlike anything really else that you've probably ever seen. There just are not many homes like this, certainly not around here. And Dale's doing some pretty cutting edge stuff, and it's beautiful, and so I hope you can make it. A little field trip next week. I want to read the final verses of Amos 9. We've been going through this Old Testament prophetic book for really the summer, sprinkling in other things along the way. And we're now to just like the final 5 verses. And so let's read them together. This is Amos 9, starting in verse 11. In that day, I will restore the fallen house of David. Let me pause here. All the previous 10 verses in chapter 9 are also about that day, the day of judgment, the day when God will make things right, sort things out. And the first 10 verses, it's pretty grim going, as it's been in a lot of Amos. But in verse 11, things shift. In that day I will restore the fallen house of David. I will repair its damaged walls. From the ruins I will rebuild it and restore its former glory. And Israel will possess what is left of Edom and all the nations I have called to be mine. The Lord has spoken, and he will do these things. The time will come, says the Lord, when the grain and grapes will grow faster than they can be harvested. Then the terraced vineyards on the hills of Israel will drip with sweet wine. I will bring my exiled people of Israel back from distant lands, and they will rebuild their ruined cities and live in them again. They will plant vineyards and gardens. They will eat their crops and drink their wine. I will firmly plant them there in their own land. They will never again be uprooted from the land I have given them, says the Lord your God. Quite a shift, to be sure, from what we've been reading the rest of the summer. And as we conclude our time in Amos, I want to invite us to step back and consider broadly Amos's journey. Because Amos, like most every other Old Testament prophet, seems to undergo a transformation. I think this was a new learning for me. And I've been at this for a while now, and it's good to learn new things along the way. But Amos seems to undergo a transformation throughout the course of the words of his that we read. And he's not alone. Most Old Testament prophets seem to undergo this same transformation. It begins with anger, which moves to sadness, which leads to compassion. And again, all but two of the Old Testament prophets seem to move through and be on this transformational journey. And I want to invite us to consider if this journey is ours to take as well. Do you remember along the way that we learned that Amos was a shepherd and a fig tree farmer, a gardener. He was not someone who went to divinity school. His parents were not priests or come from a royal family or an elite family of wealth. He was a very wonderfully ordinary person. And like all wonderfully ordinary people, Amos needed to change. We all need to change. There is a transformational journey for all of us to take. And Amos's journey, at least in part, began with anger. Every week of this series, I think, whether it was Teresa or Elliot or Steve or myself preaching, we would finish reading the text for the day and go, ooh. Do you remember this? Do you remember feeling the weight of a lot of Amos's words? Because Amos was angry. God seemed to be angry, according to Amos as well. This is the way the book begins. This is how it starts. The Lord's voice will roar from Zion and thunder from Jerusalem. That's how it begins. Not, hey, how you doing? Hope everyone's well. No, God is a lion, and God is thundering from the heavens. I mean, right away, Amos is using language meant to get our attention. In chapter 4, Amos goes on to say, "For the Lord is the one who shaped the mountains, stirs up the winds, reveals his thoughts to humankind. God turns the light of dawn into darkness." Oh boy. Again, here we are. "And treads on the heights of the earth." Amos seems to be angry, and rightly so. In the book, The Tears of Things, which is a book about the Old Testament prophets, Richard Rohr writes that all the prophets started with anger or even rage at the right things: injustice, oppression, deceit, misuse of money, power, even religion itself. And last Sunday, Teresa talked about anger, that anger is not an enemy or an adversary. This is so important for us. Most of us have grown up in homes telling us that anger is to be just avoided at all cost, that anger is dangerous, and so we would be better to resist it or push it down. But Teresa talked about how anger has something to teach us. Anger is a teacher if we are willing to be open to it. So the prophets were angry, and their anger was warranted. Real people were being suffocated by the dishonesty, the lies, the cruelty of the rich and the powerful. Friends, when the same things are happening in our world, it should make us angry too. But we can't only remain in the fires of anger, because it will burn us up. Anger is meant to move us. And so while Rohr says that the prophets begin here, with only a couple of exceptions, they do not stop with anger. Anger is meant to move us to action and possibly move us to tears. In chapters 1 to 4, Amos contains a lot of anger and frustration, but in chapter 5, there's this shift. Chapter 5 begins with, "Hear this word that I take up over you in lamentation, O house of Israel." That word lamentation is a Hebrew word meaning a formal dirge or a funeral song. Literally, Amos is singing a song that would have been sung at the death of someone who was loved. Amos is in a place of sadness and heartbreak. And just in chapter 6, he says to the people, "Woe to you who drink wine from bowls and anoint yourselves with the finest oils, but you are not grieved over the ruin of Joseph." Amos is grieved. Amos is heartbroken. But the people, in this case the wealthy, the elite, are not. And Amos says, "Woe to you." So often our anger is connected to our sadness. Personally, if I'm just being honest, I have been feeling an Amos-sized amount of anger at the abhorrent violence against the people of Gaza. 28 children are dying every day. Babies, literal babies, are starving to death unnecessarily. For what reason? I can't figure out. I'm so angry. I'm angry at the Israeli government, their complete disregard for their own people, those who are hostages, held cruelly as such. I'm angry. But I can't only be angry. I have to let my anger move me. I need to be open to what it might want to teach me. And one of the things that anger often points us to is sadness. My anger arises out of a deep sadness. It is actually sadness that is at the root of that emotion of anger. My heart breaks, and that leads to anger, or my anger can help me recognize the sadness that is at the root of it. Or let me take a much smaller example. Have you ever been cut off while driving on the road? My first reaction in that moment is anger, okay? But if I am curious about my anger, if I sit with it, ask questions about it, do you know what I realize? I'm actually not mostly angry. I'm sad. Disappointed. I'm disappointed that the world doesn't revolve around me. Because that's what cutting me off is about to me. How could you be so rude and unthoughtful to not care about me, that you cut me off, that you slighted and harmed me? Why am I not the center of your universe? And as ridiculous as it is to think that I should be, there is a part of me that thinks that I should be. And it is sad when it realizes that it is not the center of the universe. It is disappointed. It's even a bit heartbroken, if I'm honest. Oh, that's ridiculous, Chris. Not for me, at least. There's sadness connected to that anger. And as I grew up, It was okay to be angry, to a point, of course, but sadness was weakness. And so I learned to deny sadness or to pretend that I was fine. I still can default to that way of being. Rohr suggests that the prophets teach us that the path of transformation involves learning to move from anger, our often first or instinctive response, to move from anger to sadness. And that is because he says the tears we shed transform us. Eamon, would you go to the next slide, please, for me? Tears will change things. Tears often will change things. First, by changing the one who weeps, and then by moving any who draw near to the weeping. Somehow the prophets knew the soul must weep to be a soul at all. Our culture allows us to be angry. That's a common emotion expressed. Outrage, we see it everywhere. Sadness? Not so much. And I think that's because sadness requires a great deal of vulnerability, does it not? Sadness is an acknowledgement that the world is not as you hoped it would be. It's the recognition that life holds disappointment and heartache and loss. It is very vulnerable to be sad. But friends, if we are to grow and be changed, we must be vulnerable. Vulnerability is, I don't think, optional if we are to grow. Because when we are puffed up and closed off, we do not change. Pride and arrogance harden us. But sadness and its vulnerability softens us. And not just the person who weeps, but anyone who draws near to them. You've been with someone as they weep, have you not? If you have the emotional maturity to sit with someone and be present to them while they cry, you know that it not only might change the person weeping, but something happens to you by being in that space. Yesterday I was scrolling. I love telling stories about how I scroll because it sounds like I scroll a lot, but hey, this is the reality, okay? I do some scrolling. And I came across this video of a woman having her head shaved because she was about to start chemo. There were family members around her, and some were holding her hand, and one of them was shaving her head. And she's crying. They finish with her, and then one of her family members comes. She's sitting down in a chair. He comes next to her, gets on his knees, and says, and so they start shaving his head. 10, 12 people are there, and one after another, women with long hair, men with short hair, teenagers, they come. And with every person that comes, they hold her, extend their hand while they're getting their head shaved. She's crying, they start crying. And a minute or so in, I'm crying. And I got to the end of that 2-minute or so little reel, and I not only felt different in my body, because this is what crying does. It does something to our bodies, helps us, unlocks things, softens us. But I also started thinking differently, like, who would I do that for? Who would do that for me? Are the relationships in my life those kinds of relationships? Do I need to, I started going down that path. It was a transformational experience. Not in a way that like my life went in a totally different direction, but it was transformational nonetheless, because tears change us. The transformational path is to feel our anger, to express it in a way that does not harm ourselves or others, but to feel it and to know it and to express it and let it move us, if necessary, to sadness, to feel that disappointment, that hurt, that loss, to be vulnerable with ourselves and perhaps with someone else. And if we are able to do that, that sadness and the softening that comes with it can often lead to compassion. We see this progression in Amos. Amos begins with God roaring like a lion and the earth trembling, but it ends with people being restored to a land overflowing with every good thing. And all of the prophets seem to follow this same progression. Here's a few examples. Isaiah, when he begins, God burns with anger. It's like a fire. But towards the end of Isaiah, God speaks tenderly to the Israelites, saying, "Comfort, oh comfort my people." Micah begins with the melting of mountains, the splitting apart of valleys. It ends with a soaring vision of a peaceful society in which nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Zephaniah, someone we may never have even heard of, he's an Old Testament prophet, and he starts by sharing a doom-ridden message that echoes the Genesis flood. But by the end, Zephaniah sings to the ancient Israelites as if a huge kind of raucous party were going on. Anger is an understandable place to begin when we live in a world full of disappointment and injustice. But anger is not enough on its own. It's meant to move us somewhere. It moved the prophets, it moved Amos, it moved him towards emotions that can heal. And so anger invites us to weep, our tears softening our hearts and the hearts of those who draw near. And in that softening, we are compelled to embrace and to bind up and to restore. In a word, we are compelled to love. The prophets move us along this transformational path, and I think they invite us to join them. So let me invite us into just a brief moment of reflection, of prayer meaning that we are in an openness. We have an openness to God. We are willing to be open to God. That's what prayer is. And I just invite you to think about this kind of journey from anger to sadness to compassion, and to just check in and ask yourself, where am I? Like right now. Am I feeling anger? Am I feeling sadness? Am I feeling compassion? We often feel more than one thing at a time. It's rarely simple in that way. But perhaps one of these is stronger than another this morning. Or perhaps one of these you tend to deny and push down and repress. And in a way, Amos is inviting you to, as much as you can, be open to these teachers of anger and compassion and sadness. God, your desire for each person in this space, for each person in this world, is for us to be on a journey toward greater wholeness. With each day in small ways to become more and more the people that we are meant to be. Part of that journey involves being in touch with these things that Amos shows us. So help us to be in touch, to be aware, to be open and curious. in doing so, be changed. Amen. If we can remember that this meal that we share, if we can remember its first sharing way back as Jesus sat on the floor around a table, everyone else on the floor with him, reclining, eating, drinking, celebrating the Passover meal. If we can remember that night, we'll remember its complexity. That there was a lot happening in the conversation around that table. There was anger because people were coming to that meal trying to figure out who was the greatest. I don't know if there was sadness quite yet. Jesus had a sadness about him for sure. The disciples probably didn't quite pick up what was happening, but we know that there was sadness soon to come. Jesus has a compassion for his followers in this moment, recognizing how difficult it would be for them. And there's many other things in that meal, which is one of the great truths about communion, about the Last Supper, about the Eucharist, is that it is a meal of so much meaning. And so you can come to it thinking about the things that we've talked about today because they're relevant to this meal. And you can come really thinking about and carrying whatever else you have walked into this room with, and this meal can meet you because Christ is the host here. This is the promise that Jesus is somehow present in this practice that we share every week, in the bread, in the cup. So we'll have a station up front and one in the back, and we'll share these gifts together. We'll eat and drink them together once you've made your way back to your seat. Who would be willing to help share these gifts? If we had a couple of people in the back, that would be amazing. And a few people up front here. We'll have, as we usually do, the gluten-free option up front. I don't want to change things too much and really throw people off. You want to be up here or in the back? No, first choice. Okay, perfect. And if we have just a couple people, yeah, there we go. Oh, perfect. Yes. Thanks. Kelly, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, Steve, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Friends, these are the gifts of God for the people of God, and we invite you to come and share in them together. can come with whatever we are bringing, and we are welcome at the table. There's nothing we have to do or pass or somehow perform in order to have a seat here. And if you're doubtful of that, remember this broken bread, which reminds us of the broken body of Christ, which reminds us of how much we are loved. So let's take and eat, holding on to that. This bread is both gift and call. And so yes, Christ poured out his life for us, but it's so that we could then pour out our lives for others. And so we remember that call as we take and drink here.
May not know. Woo, that one is really on now. You might not know Trevor and Lynee because they join us most every week online. So that is because Lynee got COVID a couple of years ago and has been dealing with the complications of long COVID ever since. And it has changed their life. It has uprooted their life. So she's going to share a little bit about that journey, what that has looked like over the past couple of years, and some other things that they have learned along the way. So we're going to stop at a couple of moments and tie our own stories into their story a little bit here. So, Eamon, if you would, play the first part
Hello,
of
everyone.
the story.
We're so honored to share our story with you. We've been on a long journey filled with all the twists and turns that you would expect from a mysterious pandemic-level virus. It has literally turned our lives inside out and upside down.
So we are Trevor and Lynee Gilbert, and some of you might know us as the Advent blooper couple. Thank you, Chris and Teresa. All right, so Lynee, what is long COVID?
It's because it's such a new disease, and it's been hard to define. The definition has been emerging and it's been changing every year. And so the most recent definition by the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine in 2024 says that long COVID is a chronic systemic disease state with profound consequences. And I don't think that encompasses it at all. So I added what the Mayo Clinic found in their research studies, that it has more than 200 symptoms have been linked to long COVID, which may stay the same over time, get worse, go away, or come back. The virus affects the gut, blood vessels, damages brain communication in the brainstem and vagus nerve, which control the autonomic functions in the body. It damages the mitochondria cells that make energy. It damages the muscle fibers and can impact all of the organs.
So how are you specifically affected by long COVID?
Well, it's been a systemic, all-encompassing barrage of symptoms. I've had cardiovascular, autonomic system, vagus nerve, brain, digestion, musculoskeleton, kidneys, and endocrine systems have all been affected. I track over 30 symptoms that range in severity and length. Some will subside for a day, a week, a month, and then flare up unexpectedly. Most significantly on a daily basis are lack of energy, sleep fragmentation, digestive issues, think semi-liquid diet, brain processing issues, sleep fragmentation, I said that one already, muscle deterioration, migraines, orthostatic intolerance and POTS, anxiety, thermal dysregulation, low immune function, chronic fatigue syndrome, and visual disturbances. The long-term implications and concerns that could develop are things like heart disease, stroke and blood clots, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, and mast cell activation. Those are just to name a few.
All right. So what would you say how would you describe how it looks and feels like to you?
I think that you gave the best analogy like years back as you watched me go through all of this. It had felt like someone had come along, and if I were a snow globe, you know how you shake it and then everything that's been settled and you're looking at this really serene kind of picture, that when you shake it up, it's like kind of, I know snow globes are beautiful and the snow looks beautiful, but the idea of something being shook up and just everything going every which direction is kind of the feeling that it had for me. I no longer could regulate, my nervous system couldn't regulate properly. Anything that I had worked on in the past, like in regards to trauma, that had laid down nicely and settled and I'd been able to move on in life, all of that was reopened and shook up, really. It felt like kind of a tornado went through my life. So I have like this small window of tolerance that I live in energy-wise. I have to stay within a very specific range of activities each day, which is a very small amount, or kind of like, or else all the wheels fall off and I get all kinds of flare-ups and symptoms come back. And so if I stand too long, talk too long, listen or walk too long, if I go up the stairs too many times in a day, if I watch screens too long without resting in between, I will trigger like all kinds of symptoms that are debilitating. And so I just have to live so carefully. I make decisions every minute, every hour, every day around what can I do, what can I not do, how many steps should I take, what's my heart rate at right now, is my blood pressure dropping. I have to keep track of like all these symptoms and regulate all throughout the day. So my nervous system is generally kind of stuck in fight or flight mode. There's no break on the nervous system to go back and forth between rest and fight or flight. Like, it's okay to be in fight or flight throughout the day. It's just that you want to be able to come back into a rest mode and your system regulates, so it balances that. For me, it's like stuck over here in fight or flight, and I have to work really hard during the day to try to get some breaks where I get a bit of a rest before it goes back that way. So I'm training my system to be back more into rest mode, which I do all throughout the day. I do practices and all kinds of things to get myself into rest mode. My sleep study found that I have like sleep fragmentation, and I would say like it's felt like my whole body has been fragmented, like not just my sleep, but specifically in sleep it shows up. My sleep study showed that I'm waking 39 times an hour, and I don't have regular sleep cycles. I don't follow regular REM and deep and light sleep throughout a night, so that makes it really difficult for my cells to repair, for my brain to store memories and to refresh and all of those things. And what's really frustrating is that it's not just, how far I walk, it's not just physical. Every action, whether it's brain or social or emotional or physical, anything that my body is taking in, perceiving, has to be measured and balanced out, or else there are huge consequences. So it's like living with the will and the motivation to move and to do things and to be creative and do things, but then having to be really disciplined to live within this really narrow window to keep all of the chaos under control.
All right. That was a really good example with the snow globe.
It was.
They are simply the sweetest. I had the privilege of sitting with them for a while earlier this week and using some of what Lynee is describing, some of her energy, right? So it was a gift to be able to sit with them, and I hope it's a gift for you to hear their story. We'll hear more about them in just a moment, but we wanted to pause here and say, and just ask one another, ask yourself, what are those moments for you that you've felt like a snow globe, that you felt like things are dysregulated, you don't know which way is up, which way to turn, You might not have a chronic condition like Lynee does. You might not struggle with the health things and navigating all of that. But there are moments, I think, in all of our lives where something happens to us or a decision that we've made that just upends it all. So I invite you to simply think of a moment or moments in your life when that has been true for you. And what did that feel like? As we move forward here with Lynee's story and Trevor's story, you'll hear how Lynee has worked through some of those things and where she's been supported. But I just invite you to hold on to how that feels and to think about maybe what you might need as you listen to this next piece of Lynee's story.
All right. Now I want you to share how you found support and healing.
Because of the combined disorientation and chaos of like having all my systems all out of whack, I found that the things that I needed most and need most is to have this felt sense of safety and dignity, belonging and love. So for example, safety, I'm not talking about physical safety, although that's part of it. Just having a tachycardia means my heartbeat is beating faster than it should, which gives my internal sense this feeling of like racing, anxiety, something's off, something's wrong. I'm sure you guys have experienced a fast heart rate at some point. It doesn't feel calm. And so I need that sense of safety in my body, safety with people caring for me. So that's what I've pursued.
And you're feeling that chaos day and night at times.
Yeah. Dignity. It's just been such a huge thing to lose my career. I've taught for 24 years. I was really involved in social justice program at school. I loved what I was doing, and to not be able to return to that, and to question who I am and what is my purpose now. The loss and the grief has been really hard. Dreams and of the future, I can barely make a plan for a week ahead and know if I can make it because of my energy level or what symptoms I might have that may or may not allow me to be outside of the house. All of that has just been a loss. My sense of belonging in that sense, it's just been really isolating. I've lost my whole support network as far as a work network, which is where I spent the majority of my life. It's my capacity and my bandwidth is so short and small that I don't have a lot of energy outside of caring for myself every single day, every single hour, to reach out and be a good friend, or to be involved in anything. It's just trying to keep my head above water all the time. And so I've lost that belonging in community and belonging with friendships and things like that. And then finally love, not just love from Trevor, but also I felt really disconnected from myself. The early stages of long COVID and brain fog were so intense that other people described it like disassociation. I would describe it kind of I felt like I was drowning, and I would come up for a breath, and then this fog would come in over my brain and my thinking, and I couldn't articulate, and I couldn't connect with people. I couldn't hear my own inner voice. I couldn't hear or feel any sense or presence of God or His Holy Spirit. It was just black and dark. And so I've really worked towards the healing of connection through love.
So in terms of safety, dignity, belonging, and love, Where have you found those things?
You've been my biggest. I know a lot of you know how awesome Trevor is, and he has truly been my greatest supporter. He's taken care of me and the household. He does everything around here. He does 90%. He makes all our meals. He does all our grocery shopping and cleaning and work, and he does it all with joy and with a great attitude, and he has been on board with what I need and for my healing, like 100% all the time. So I feel, I don't know what I would have done without his love and care and kindness and like amazing attitude. Like it's been a game changer. One of the things that we learned was that if I just being near Trevor helps to co-regulate my nervous system, and so I would spend hours staring out the window and wait for Trevor to come home, and he would come home and he would crawl up next to me and hold me on the couch and after dinner every day, and that has been our foundational rhythm, I guess. So every night, like that's where you can find us pretty much after dinner. We found that that's so healing for my body, and I think healing for you too in some level. Yeah.
Brings your heart rate down.
Yeah. Skylar and Annalise have walked with me through this with me as well. Like part of that story is just so much loss as a mother, to not be attentive and to not be able to be who I want to be for them, and who I need to be for them at times, has been really like just like death, like it felt awful. But at the same time, I've been available in ways I haven't been able to be in the past as a working mom and a single mom in the past, and so my presence has been valuable to them, and they've rallied around me. Like they're watching out for me and checking on my energy levels all day, and hey mom, can you do this? Do you have time to do this? They know the drill, and I'm really thankful for how they've walked through it with me. Other ways I found support and healing have been through online community groups. So there's a group, this is where I got the t-shirt from, Joy Heals, through Susie Bolt's Rest, Repair, Recover program. She's out of the UK, and she started this healing community around long COVID. And the model that she's come up with, as well as the researchers that she's invited to talk to, has made such a huge difference in the long COVID community that she's been endorsed as the National Health Institute's, I may be saying that wrong, whatever their healthcare system is in the UK, they've adopted that as their long COVID program, which is just amazing. And it's just hats off to her and her work that she's done, and that whole community has been amazing. I remember mornings where it'd be like one of the first things I'd do in the morning was hop online just to know that I wasn't alone and that other people were walking through the same things I were, and just it was just huge. And then the second community that I've been a part of is...
What would you say that you have learned about yourself and discovered? All right.
There was a second community that I'm not sure what it was. It's all good. Well, that's okay. These things happen when we have videos, right? I love that shirt. Joy Heals. I love that. I know that's been a gift to be a part of that community here. Maybe we'll get back to that other one here in a second. But you heard her talk about Trevor, and some of you know Trevor and know his calming presence and what a gift that was. I invite you to name, either out loud or to yourself, somebody who's been a Trevor to you. If you guys are watching, I'm embarrassing you, Trevor, and I know it, but who's been your Trevor? Who's been the one who's held you, who's walked alongside of you? Who are those people for you? Anybody want to offer those names as a way of giving gratitude for those people in your life? My mother. Was that Elena? Aw. What? Amen. I'm sorry. What did you say? My dad. Ben. as I'm looking around, I can see a smile come to a lot of people's faces. So I know there are people that you are thinking of. So grateful for those people in our life, whether that's a parent, a partner, a spouse, a friend, somebody in this community. It's what we can be for one another, right? And that is a gift, to have those people in our life and to walk alongside of those people. Y'all are going to make me cry back there. Elliot, did you want to say something? Daddy is your support. That's pretty great, buddy. I love it. I love it. All right. Let's let Trevor and Lynee wrap up their story here on this last video.
What would you say that you have learned about yourself and discovered along the way?
It's like a big topic. I could talk about this. I could write a book, I think.
But we're going to get you guys out of here before late lunch.
Yeah. 4 years ago, when we were in the midst of COVID lockdown and the branch went online, and Pastor Chris did a series on liminal space. And I remember the time it resonated with me deeply. Like, it made so much sense, this space of uncertainty and mystery and wonder. You just don't know when it's going to end, or you have so many questions. And I can literally say that, like, I'm still in that liminal space. Like, it feels like everybody else has moved on, but I'm still wondering and curious and living in that space. And so that's been a hard place to be in, just to be waiting. And I probably connect it well when I think about kind of a spiritual wilderness. That makes sense to me. I can connect with various people in the Bible who were living in the desert, after the Egyptians chased out the Israelites, having to live in a desert and not know when you're getting out, and then how do you live? So I do feel like I'm in that wilderness space, and I'm doing better in that wilderness space than I did before. I wanted to hurry up and get out. And so now it's just kind of a settled and a surrendered, okay, this is my space and time for now. What do I need to do? And I feel like God has given me like kind of daily manna through just sweet graces and through just little breakthroughs here and there, tiny bits of progress that feel like, okay, it's just enough to keep me going without like just going insane.
Yeah, but I would say that very much describes your experience. And then from the outside looking at you, like, I can see you becoming. Like, you feel like, yeah, you're in the desert, the wilderness, and I've watched you continue to become more.
So there have been some gifts, things that I didn't think that were needed or important or, whatever kind of thing. But some of the gifts have been, it's given me time and space to heal some deep trauma wounds that I don't think I would have never had the time and space to heal on this level. I had done a lot of healing work even before I got long COVID, to a point where I would have said I was good, not that it's not a lifelong journey, healing from trauma, but I was in a good space, and so, but coming into this and having everything kind of broken open again has brought me to such a deeper level of time to listen and heal, and that's been like such a gift. I don't know how else this could have happened.
It's a really good example of how nobody ever would want long COVID. Nobody would ever wish on being fragmented, but the fragmentation allows you to, like, it's like the fissures and the cracks that lets you see what's down deep and what needs to happen. Yeah. Things were brought up that I wouldn't have been able to access, I don't think, had I not been doing all this work. So it's been amazing. The other part has been learning a different approach to life. Like, I'd kind of been stuck on, as much as Trevor and I try not to buy into mainstream culture in the sense that it's all about achieving and getting and success, like, I was still living in that culture. And so time, I never had time for anything. Everything was a still running on the wheel,
fast
still
wheel.
part of the race.
Yeah. And so, and kind of in like survival mode. My body had learned that early on, and that's what felt comfortable, and that's just how I operated. And so learning how to operate from a place of chill and peace and joy and laughter has been like life-giving. It's been life-giving to our relationship and to my kids and to myself. Like finding daily glimmers is a part of one of my practices, and noticing the small things that bring joy, whether it's bare feet on the grass or a hummingbird at the hummingbird feeder, or just daily meditations and how the light changes throughout the day. Like my noticings have come to some like really small, minute things.
And fine-tuned.
But that give me just such deep joy. And so there's joy all around. Like there's joy in the wilderness, and that gives me so much peace, and that's what keeps me going, really.
So like one of your daily checks is asking, did I laugh?
Yeah.
Did I laugh today? Did I smile today?
Yeah.
And if she hasn't, then it's up to me to make it happen before we go to sleep. So
yeah,
it's a lot of pressure.
Kind of like the last thing about what I've learned about myself is that as opposed to survival mode of I have to do this, things have to line up this way in order to be okay, I've really learned to let go of what I can't control and live in the flow of the spirit, live in the flow of life, like my own needs and wants and joys and hopes and loss, like to live and let go and kind of repeat those cycles is such a healthier space to be in. And that feels so much better. Like it feels good to be me. Like it feels like coming home, kind of. And I'm so thankful for that. I don't know.
Well, since you're married kind of a loosey-goosey guy, that's kind of good for us too.
I was always more serious and professional and how things had to go. And Trevor has always been like my hippie laughter husband. And so I guess I've become more like you in some ways. And
I've had to become more like you.
Yeah. So it's been a really a huge gift for our marriage. We're thankful for all the time spent together and the conversations and the battle, and to still be holding on to each other really through it all has been amazing. So I guess to just kind of wrap things up a little bit, I recently was listening to a podcast about kind of meditation and living life simply, and I came across a quote that I've added into my index cards to help focus my brain and my mind, and so I'm just going to share it with you because I just think it's been special to me. So and it's become kind of a way to approach life. And this is by St. Ron of Benedictine monks from their brief rule. It says, empty yourself completely and sit waiting, content with the grace of God. I'm going to say that again because I kind of messed it up. So let me say it one more time. Empty yourself completely and sit waiting, content with the grace of God. Thanks for listening.
It's a good way to close, isn't it? Empty yourself completely, sitting with the grace of God. It is what you are all offered each and every day, the grace of God. Thankful to Lynee and to Trevor for that reminder. By the way, that image that you just saw behind those words was a photo of Lynee's. So she's been having fun with photography and digging into beauty in that way too. So thankful for her sharing that gift as well. Thank you to Trevor and Lynee for sharing such a journey and for the things you've learned along the way. Thank you to all of you who have shared stories this summer. We are grateful for each and every one of you. As I talk, the band can come on up. We're going to sing one more song together. And also an invitation to any of you, if you have stories to share, we'd love to hear them. We can incorporate those at any time throughout the year here. So we'd love to hear those things as well. All right, As we end this morning, I invite you to stand and let's sing together. Almost. We're almost there. Did it. Good. I invite you to stand and let's sing together this morning.
This song's a fitting song to end, especially after the stories from Trevor and Lynell. We introduced this song. I think we learned it in 2020, and I think we learned it on Zoom. And yeah, we'll sing it again. Blessed are the ones who do not bury all the broken pieces of their heart. Blessed are the tears of all the weary, pouring like a sky of falling stars. Blessed are the wounded ones in mourning, brave enough to show the Lord their scars. Blessed are the hurts that are not hidden, open to the healing touch of God. The kingdom is yours. The kingdom is yours. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. Blessed are the ones who walk in kindness, even in the face of great abuse. Blessed are the deeds that go unnoticed, serving with unguarded gratitude. Blessed are the ones who fight for justice, longing for the coming day of peace. Blessed is the soul that thirsts for righteousness, welcoming the last, the lost, the least. The kingdom is yours. The kingdom is yours. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Our hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. And blessed are the ones who suffer violence and still have strength to love your enemies. Blessed is the faith of those who persevere. Though they fall, they'll never know defeat. The kingdom is yours. The kingdom is yours. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep
That's the right prayer, I think, and that our attention would remain on a God who is faithful to us always, and a God who shows up to us through each other. I think we've felt that this morning. We've heard about that this morning. So it's a good prayer to end on. I want to close with two things. First, I want to actually show you a blooper that Trevor and Lynee sent us, okay? I just want to be clear. He kind of made fun as if Teresa and I made them out to be the Advent blooper people from a video they shared at Advent. No, they shared it, and so just enjoy this quick little clip here, Eamon, if you'd play that.
I don't love it being at an angle.
Are we recording?
Oh.
I don't know if you could hear that or not, but are we recording? No. Yes. Oh, shoot. Okay. Thanks to their good hearts for being willing to share that with us. They're a gift for sure. And Lynee really wanted to be here. She was just hoping that she might be able to figure out a way to be in person. But you get a sense from what she shared that to have to measure, everything so carefully. It was such a tremendous gift for them to sit down for the time that they did and spend the energy to record that. And so again, we're just very grateful to them. Friends, may you be people this week who do their best to be open to whatever we may feel, whatever emotions may come up along the way in this week. And trust that if we can be open and curious, it will lead us on a journey of transformation and change. Be those people this week. Amen. Good to see you all. Enjoy this sunny Sunday morning.